We lost last night flawless. And of course, when United lose, there's always massive fallout, the biggest fallout in the world.
Yes.
And Daps put it in the group chat earlier. He said, you guys have got to speak about Man United season falling apart. Are you feeling like that this morning? It was a bad result. Are you feeling like Man United season is now in big trouble?
No, it wasn't a bad result, yes, but you mentioned it there. The sky's always falling. Anytime we lose or draw, no matter where we're at in the table, no matter what the expectations are, the quality of our team, the sky is falling when we lose. Is the season falling apart? No, because the season's already over. We've already exceeded my expectations for the season already. This is just now extras. That's how I'm looking at it. I did not expect us to be where we are in the table. I didn't expect to be so confident in the side either. So the season falling apart is ridiculous. Let's say worst case scenario, we drop out of the top 4. It would be a disappointing end to a good season. How many people had us? But I just know me personally, I didn't have us above 5th. You know what I'm saying? I said 5th at very best. I thought that was the ceiling. I was saying 6th. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I was 5th at best. I have hope.
Even after the 200 million you spent, even after the 90 million and
even so, yeah, that's how much I didn't rate this team. Yeah, even after this, because just because you spent. Yeah, just because it was like 200 million, just because you spend money doesn't necessarily mean you improve. We've seen Liverpool spend 200 million over the past 2 summers and they've gone backwards. So just because you spend money doesn't mean you move forward. So that's
you didn't spend 200 million. Don't be making
No, you didn't. No, you spent two. No, you spent two. No, you spent
200 million
over the past 2 summers. You got Google. Go to transfer market. Over the
we
past
didn't
2
spend
summers.
200 million. That's cap.
Over the it's not cap. Go to transfer market.
100% cap.
It's not cap. You can go check it if you don't believe.
I have checked it. I know it like the back of my mind.
Okay.
I don't need to check
You spent 200 million in the past 2 summers. You have. You can check. People in the chat. You can check it. Of course, you're going to deny it. But anyway, you've gone backwards after spending money regardless. But that my point still stands. Yes, I didn't expect us to do well because people talk about Manchester United spending money, but we needed much more than 200 million.
So you're saying that? So you're saying that 5th and the Karabuki is still a good season for Man United?
Yes. From where we was at the start, yes.
That's crazy.
That's
absolutely crazy. Your expectations should change based on circumstances. You have been in the 4th position for how long? Liverpool have been 12 points behind you, and you're coming here to tell me that if you become 5th, this is not a failure. It's an absolute disaster for you.
I never said it's not a failure. I said if you listen to what I said, it would be a disappointment. No. I said it. No, I said at the start of the season I would be happy. What I said it would be a disappointing end to a good season. That's what I said. Pay attention to what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? I'm very specific with the way I choose my words.
So it's a good season because even with the money spent, 5th and the Karabuki equates to a good season. How does 5th and the Karabuki equates to a good season and you're Manchester United? That's crazy.
No, again, because have hope. No, it makes sense because we and you have had this conversation many a times before. And last time we had it, clip surfaced of you lying because you didn't have us in the top 5. You know what I'm saying? And that's why you laughing. You didn't have us in the top 5. So the fact, again, I said it exceeded my expectations. I said maximum is a Carabao Cup and us finishing 5th. I did not expect us to be at the level where we're at.
But you've been 4th for such a long time, so you can't just be like, okay, well, so what you had before the season, cool, but how the season has panned out and how the season has been going, if from this position you are in, you somehow drop out of top 4. You can't now say, well, I never thought that we'd actually get top 4 before the season. No, you've been in 4. Basically, it's the same thing that I say to Arsenal guys. See, for Arsenal, it's not a failure if they don't win the league. It is very, very disappointing because Arsenal, you've been top 4 93% of the time, which could be the longest. If City win, it'll be the longest time a team have spent at the top not winning the league. So it is massively disappointing if they don't win, but not a failure. So for you guys, it has to be hugely disappointing. So you can just say, "Oh, it's a good season." That's defeatist. That's basically loser talk.
No. It's not loser talk because, like I stated before, where we're at with it. Like I said, it would be. I stated that the first thing, but you lot seem to be missing that point. I said it will be a disappointing end to a good season because of the improvements I've seen, the on the pitch improvements I've seen. I've never so much looked forward to a transfer window in the past decade as I am this window coming. When I look at the improvements we've made, I was unsure on Ten Hag because I didn't know a lot about him, but he's impressed me as well. I'm like, all right, let's see where this goes next season. So yes, it would be a disappointing end to to a good season, and I expect us to finish in the top 4 anyway. I've stated this.
Flawless. The part we disagree with is the good season part, though.
Okay, that's cool, and that's
let me tell you why. One second, let me tell you why. The expectations must change as the season progresses. I understand what you're saying based on like, you know, what's happening on the pitch. Of course, there's improvements. You know, this is not like what's going on under Ralf Rangnick or etc. But at the same time, you've got to also be realistic in terms of you've been in. I don't think you're going to drop out the top 4. I think you already know my thoughts on that. But if you do somehow drop out of it, then I don't even think it's a disappointment. I think it's failure based on context this season.
That's cool.
Also, I'll tell you why, for 2 reasons. First of all, I think you've spent this long in the top 4 for such a long time in this year. And if for you to not get it now with 4 or 5 games left, it would be a failure, regardless of the improvements on the pitch, because there's a massive difference between getting Champions League football and getting Europa League football. And the second thing is, and you know, there's something Terry does as well regarding predictions. I hear it, like, you know, fair enough, valid argument, you know, like Hussam had a 7th, blah, blah, blah. But I don't think our predictions should matter in the context of the season. I forget Man United itself. One second, let me land. Forget Man United itself. Let's use Newcastle, since there's no Newcastle fan here so far. Newcastle are on the top 4 right now. They're 3rd. If Newcastle finish 5th, based on the conversation we would have had regarding Newcastle in August, it's a successful season. But based on context and what's happened this season in the league, Newcastle would also fail had they finished 5th. It's the same thing for me.
So I understand that. Look, on the predictions, but this is where we end up in 2 separate conversations at the same time, trying to come to the same conclusion. If Man United from this point fail to make the top 4 and don't win the FA Cup, you can look at it. I will look at that as failure. Yes. Doesn't mean, though, that I want the manager sacked and I can't recognize the other improvements. And I'm still excited about a summer transfer window because I believe we'll go to an even higher level next year. All those things exist in the same reality. I still think we'll make the top 4. Therefore, I'm looking at where we sit right now. And when I say based on our expectations at the start of the season, we're currently overachieving, that statement is also true. That is where your preseason predictions do still exist. Because right now, we're exceeding what everybody believed we'd do, right?
Absolutely.
Therefore, right now,
I don't want to admit, but people it is.
Of course, it's based on predictions, because otherwise, nobody's ever failing or nobody's ever exceeding expectations. Nobody's ever having a brilliant season, because whether you're doing bad or good is based on how everybody thought you were going to do. If you're an underdog in a boxing match and you win and everybody says, oh, we all thought you were going to win anyway. Well, it's bullshit.
Boxing is not football, Terry.
Hang on, but it's the same thing. If you go into a game and you're the underdog and you win, but nobody says, oh, when Wigan beat the City in the FA Cup final, nobody said, well, we expected that. It's a different kind of feeling when you exceed those expectations. And I get what rivals are doing, and you're right. Man United are damned if they do and damned if they don't. If we achieve this, it'll be, why are you celebrating that? You're not winning the league or anything. If we don't achieve it, it will be your bottled jobs and failures. And I understand that logic, because most fans and rivals do that to each other. But I'm very comfortable as a Man United fan to sit here and say, right now we're exceeding our first season expectations. I'm a little bit nervous going into these last few games because Liverpool are winning matches. And if we don't make it, I will call it, in the end, I'll call it a failure. But the problem we have now is that that's not enough for people. On the match reaction last night, Flawless, it was killing me, bro.
Go on, what happened?
I was criticizing the manager. I was criticizing the players. I was ripping into things they did wrong. And all I kept on seeing in the comments was excuses. And I'm like, what excuse? I didn't say we were robbed or something. It was raining, or the floodlights got in our eyes, or there was hay fever going round, or anything. I'm like, what's the excuses? And one guy kind of admitted it. He went, I just want you to say everyone's shit at your club. And I'm like, that's the thing, isn't it? That's what it boils down to. They just want you to say, Ten Hag out, I'm not happy. And I think most Man United fans overall are. We know that by improving the squad, we're going to get better. But the big question is, for the panel, will Man United, I'm going to go to Jerry on this, are Man United going to drop out of the top 4? Will we bottle the top 4?
You cannot bottle the top 4. You cannot allow our ownership and Hussam knows to go and spin that we've had a successful season. We can't, like, that cannot happen. Like, I know. Look, in the context of the season, look, United have had a decent. Like, it's been a good season for Ten Hag for a first season. But if Liverpool finish in the top 4 above you, I mean, that's like diabolical for me. That's diabolical. Like, I can't even envision that. I think United will pick up the pace somehow, and yeah, I mean, boy, I don't even want to. I can't. If United don't make the top 4, that surely has got to be the biggest bottle of the season.
100%.
No. It's Arsenal, man. It's Arsenal.
No, surely.
Again, man.
No. Arsenal is worse.
The reason why I say that is context. Is context. Looking at how badly Liverpool have been, and Liverpool have gone on a 5-game run now where we've picked up some points, and Liverpool have managed to get in the top 4 above United that consistently across the board have had a stronger season. It's crazy. That's crazy to me. I think United do it though, but boy, if you don't,
I hear you though. But if Man United do make it, then Liverpool going from quads to nothing, that's got to be the biggest bottle job of the century.
Well,
we're a failure, 100%.
We're not a bottle job, but we are a failure. Yeah,
we failed this year.
That's failure. You know
no one's gonna deny it.
That's what the season dictates.
I think some will.
That's what the season dictates.
Hey, those are the people we fight. Those are the people the likes of myself and Jerry fight. You know we failed this season already. I'm not gonna argue that.
Jerry, I don't disagree with you. If Man United throw this away, I will be bitterly disappointed. I will be massively frustrated.
But Flawless disagrees with you though.
No, I said again, word. No, I didn't. I said no. You just don't like the word. No, exactly. Words. You don't like the words.
Failure. You said disappointment.
Yeah, I did say disappointment. You know what I'm saying? Two sides of the same ass cheek. What we doing? You know what I'm saying? You just don't like the words that I'm using. That's all it is.
But sorry, would you say
failure? Someone has to be held accountable. Flawless failure means someone has to be held accountable.
Guys, I'm glad you brought that up. So what is? So somebody will be. The manager will be held accountable. But do you guys expect us to want him sacked?
No.
So we will condemn him for his mistakes, and who will be held accountable is the players that are not good enough will be sold, and better players will be bought. That's literally what's going to happen. So when people say you've got to hold someone accountable, I don't know what you mean. It means
criticize Terry. It just means it means criticize the players and the manager. Two things I've been doing also. Before you go have one quick question. Also the players. Obviously, we don't talk to everybody here often. And Sam will vouch for me. I've been, and you can go to my time. I've been criticizing these players. I've been saying I will push the majority of these players off a cliff. Hypothetically, people, not literally, because they're not good enough. So how much more accountable can we hold them? Like what more can we do?
Terry, would you call it a good season if you finish 5th? And just the Karabuki, would you still say disappointing but good season? Would you still use the word good season despite the disappointment?
I would again. You then get into a battle of semantics and what it means to everybody. I would recognize the improvements that we've made this year, but I'd end the season feeling disappointed. However, I would still be excited about what we're going to create next year. So all those feelings can exist at the same time, and we all know this is true because when your team is good, and I was a United fan in the best era of my club's history. And there were seasons where we didn't win a Prem, or there were seasons where we didn't win a trophy. And I'd be angry and annoyed. But I was then excited about the next year within a week of the season ending when you're linked to new players because you know your team's got a chance again next year. And that's why I've defended Arsenal in recent weeks where everybody's like, their fans must be fuming. Yes, they will be. But their fans are really excited about next year because they think they're going to maintain this level or get better. And I think I've been talking about it for 2 years now. The way we review football at the end of the season sometimes is it's like it's the final season of The Sopranos. And whatever happens at the end, and you can't change it. Football isn't like that. You can go again. So I'd be bitterly disappointed. I'd recognize improvements, but I'd be excited about what our summer holds, especially if we get a takeover. For me, all three of those feelings will be going through me at the same time. Like, I don't think we need to be polarized and focus on one particular emotion more. I won't discount the disappointment and go, I'm not bothered by it. I'm just focusing on the future because that's bullshit. But equally, I'm not going to sit there and drag out my manager and say, I don't care about the summer. I don't care about next season. I'm going to focus on this failure for the rest of my time as a Man United fan. I'm just not going to, I'm not Lee Gunner. I'm not going to let it haunt me forever. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm just not going to do it. But I hear where you're coming from. I see a few super chats here. The biggest bottle job this season is Chelsea's season. They bottled 550 million. That is true. By the way, for Sam, in the last 2 summers, you've spent 137 plus 87 million. That's definitely more than 200 million. That's my math.
See, I know my.
That's 87. Where does the 87 come from?
87. It's on 87. You spent 87 million in the 21-22 season. You spent 40 million on Konate, and you spent 47 million on Diaz. And this summer just gone, you spent 137 million. So yeah, collectively that's more than 200 million.
This summer we didn't spend 137. What did you spend 137? 64 is Nunez.
Let me go to transfer market. Hold up.
Carvalho on a free. Calvin Ramsey's a kid from Aberdeen.
Gakpo, 42
They're
million.
counting the winter.
Yeah, that's the last January as well. So
This year. You spent it in a year season.
So this season, you still spent 200 million and gone backwards.
January transfers, they count as spending, definitely, I think.
They do. They definitely do.
Right.
Definitely.
So I was right.
Flawless and the
I thought he was talking about the 2 summers. This guy, flawless.
No, I
Flawless,
didn't
you
know.
need to be
I just said,
careful.
I said,
You
I
need to
didn't
word
say
it
2
properly,
summers.
my
I said,
brother.
no. I'm very particular with what I say. I'm very careful with what I say, especially around you because you
just didn't
so
word
it
it
is, yeah, 100% in it, like 100%. So I'm very careful. Like I stated what I said, you spent 200 million and gone backwards. You know what I'm saying?
I can't lie to you, Terry. That's
season
super
and
chat
failed
right
last
there.
season.
You know, Chelsea's getting away with murder this season. By the way, I'm just.
Yeah.
You
know what?
I know the
next
Chelsea
season.
thing
We'll
is
be
coming
back
in a
next
bit,
season.
but they're getting away with murder.
We'll come on to Chelsea in a bit. I don't actually think they are. I just think it's, you know, they're dead already. I think people have just stopped talking about them because they're gone. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's over now. It's kind of finished. This super chat says Flawless and the Don on the top 6. What is this? A crossover episode? Big up the panel. Happy you're feeling well, Terry. You know what's mad? Like, I watch your show on Matisse's channel as well. But this is what's crazy when you get people that don't watch us first. You guys were on the Terrace ever before you were ever on that show. It's crazy how like when people start watching YouTube, it's funny. But yeah, that's a great show you guys do. We'll come on to the messy. Someone's on a messy super chat. We'll come on to that later when it's a little more topical. The one thing I've noticed as well, have you seen this, Flawless, recently? That Ten Hag is held accountable for the money that's spent before he arrived, as well as what he spent in the summer.
Yeah. I get that a lot. So you have X player who's worth such and such on the bench, and then this player is worth such and such. And I'm like, forget the value of the player. Is the player good enough? I ask all rivals who say this. If your team was challenging for a league, would you take this player? If the answer is no, I'm not trying to hear you defend him. If the answer is yes, then different conversation.
I did a bit of research today because I unleashed my inner Idral Adesanya and released out Team Petty, right? I thought I'd be a bit Team Petty. And I looked at Liverpool, Arsenal, and City. And so Man United, if you count back 5 years plus this year, 960 million pounds has been spent. So you can look at it and go, right, you know, he's only had one season, but let's see what he achieves. I went and looked at Jurgen Klopp. If you add up 5 years before Klopp arrived and what he spent, just under 1.1 billion. So that's what we have to assess Klopp on, not the 600 million he spent. Arsenal's a real interesting one. So 5 years before Arteta, plus since he's been there now, 992 million pounds. Man City's even crazier. 577 million before Pep arrived, 1.1 billion since he's been there, 1.6 billion in total. But the only manager I literally see in the media or by rival fans that's judged on what was spent before he arrived is Arteta. And I wondered if anybody cared to share their thoughts on why that happens.
You know, Terry, you love like everyone hates Man United conspiracy.
Bro, I'm only bringing it up because I see it. So I'm trying to ask. I'm well up for accepting it.
I'm all for it. I hear where you're coming from. I'm all for it. But it's just like, you know, listen, I'm going to be honest with you. I've said this to Flawless before. My club and your club just gets the most shit. We just have to deal with it. It's just the two most hated clubs. Ten Hag, you know, I'm going to tell you this. You know, earlier on when the Chelsea thing, I know we're not going to speak on it, but I'm just saying in generalities. If Man United were in Chelsea's position or Liverpool were in Chelsea's position, we wouldn't be doing the whole, oh my God, they're in grief and they've given up. Like, our life would be ruined on this application. Like, you need to understand. So it's just hatred. And, you know, people hate Man United. And with Ten Hag, here's the thing. The same way, like where he gets criticized a lot. Also, we must also admit, some Man United fans overdo the praise. I'm not saying you are Flawless, but since we're doing general talk, generally, a lot of Man United fans that we interact with on social media have been overdoing the praise.
I agree with that.
And let me say one thing. Let me just say one thing. Here's the thing. It's not just with Ten Hag, it's with players as well. So, like, I always say, like, it's with Terry and Flawless and others maybe you interact with. It's not like that. But Rashford better than Mbappe. You all saw that shit. You saw Lisandro's the best center back. You saw all this. Like, we've seen these convos.
Sam, let me just interject for a second. I get that from fans online. I'm talking about Sky Sports putting up graphics demonstrating this. They show, like, what Pepper's spent since he's been at City and then what Man United have spent in that period. But they put a picture of Ten Hag up and then put the total trophies both managers have won. And I'm like, One's been there 7 to 8 years. One's been there 1 season, and you're doing a comparison like they've been head to head for 8 years. It's a madness to me.
Yeah, but that's stupid. But also, we need to look at the players that the club has got. Like, look at you got Varane before Ten Hag, so this is a guy that World Cup. So we're not. Let me just finish this point because we're talking about a manager that inherited sometimes a good players. Like this guy Arteta, he inherited Ozil. He got like Aubameyang. He got like Lacazette. So I'm judging him not only based on his players, but the world-class players he has on his squad. Because let me finish one thing. Look at Ten Hag improvement of Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Aaron Wan-Bissaka cost you £40 million, and he was labeled shit. He was labeled a terrible player. But look at the improvement.
Yes.
So I'm looking at both sides. I'm looking at him.
I'm only interjecting because I agree with you. My issue isn't. I think that's fair to do, but it has to be unilateral. You can't turn. So what you hear is, Klopp took over a Liverpool team that was dead. They nearly won the league a year earlier. People say, what Pep's built at City.
That was the biggest carry job. That was the biggest carry job.
Come on, man.
You guys raved about that team.
Where was Suarez when Klopp got them?
I'm not digging out any teams in particular. People say, what Pep's done. Pep's done a brilliant job. But City were a team that were winning titles when he arrived, as an example. You've got Arteta that comes in, who's done a brilliant job, first job, loads of good things around that. But people forget that before he arrived, that club in the previous 3 seasons were the highest spenders in Europe. And I'm just saying this. If you're going to criticize Ten Hag for the squad he inherited, the same has to be done to other managers. But it doesn't. And that's my problem, Mo.
Yeah, 100%.
It's one or the other. Not
the reason why we don't get that, Terry, because you're asking people to be rational and reasonable and non-biased with their take. What you're asking for is that you know what I'm saying. You seen it yesterday when you did the match reaction. You are definitely not getting that. That's why with Ten Hag, yes, he is not above criticism. He deserves it. But some of the criticism I do see of him is over the top. Like Mo, you mentioned there is improvement on Wan-Bissaka. I agree with you. He has improved Wan-Bissaka, but Wan-Bissaka is still not good enough for where Manchester United want to go. He's not. Like even an improved Wan-Bissaka is not of the level where Manchester United.
He worked with what he has. Like
and
Wan-Bissaka stopped most of the wingers in the Premier League.
100%. Not disputing that. I'm just making the point that's why I praise Ten Hag is for things like that, because I thought Wan-Bissaka was done. But you also said he inherited world-class players. Outside of Varane, who do you think he inherited who was world-class in our team?
I just asking. Maybe let's look at Rashford. You guys told us 5 years ago that Rashford.
No. Just let me finish. Let me finish.
That's all. You guys. I thought that Rashford is done as well, but 5 years ago Rashford was the hottest prospect in world football.
So Mo, now you're
and he improved them. He improved them.
Mo, let me just stop you for a second. What you're saying is again right, but the difference is that rivals all summer were saying shit squad. You got a shit squad, dead squad, wasted the money on crap players. Now they say, and pundits all said that in the summer. Now they say, but Ten Hag should be there. He's got a brilliant squad. They speak out of both sides of the mouth. This is where me and you. I'm not saying you're wrong. I think you're right to say that. My point is, people speak out of both sides of their mouths. And there's a very famous clip of True Geordie and the kickoff when it was doing what it used to do, and it was of their pre-season predictions where they all predicted Man United coming 7th and 8th and being dead. And then when the end of the season happened and we came 3rd, they were all sitting there, bull-faced lying, saying, "Yeah, we all predicted United in 4th or 3rd, didn't we?" And they were all talking to each other like that was reality. And I was pissing myself laughing because, again, I don't get angry about it. It's funny to watch, but it's like the lies, and that's all I ask for is consistency. And it's like the next point I'm going to bring up. And this is away from Man United, so people won't think I'm being biased. I've heard this week, and I'd love to get your take as a panel on this. By the way, welcome, Pete, to the show.